Hello everyone. Um, Welcome back to another monologue of mine. And today, uh, this will be a very short, uh, you know, conversation. I mean, a short monologue. I mean, I will try to keep it short, not like 30 minutes or 20 minutes. I would take like less than that, of course, not that big, because today, I want to talk about the rise of LARPing in third world countries. Um, Look, the one thing which you uh, gain by being chronicling online is uh, whatever is happening on the internet, whether it's niche or whether it's very niche or very popular. You know the origin of terms that revolve around the internet. So back in the day, at least when I was I guess when I was in ninth grade or maybe earlier than that, when I used to browse the image boards that I talked earlier, there was we I mean the people who use image boards and things like that. There were terms which are now being used as some aesthetic, or you could say trending thing right now, like mogging. What else? Looks maxing, clavicular, the things Clav does. And also, if you know Clav, I did follow him too, because Clav, his looksmack.org post. Bro, just look at that shit. I mean, you could get a very good understanding of how he thinks. He literally takes pills for erectile dysfunction at fucking 20. Bro, what the fuck? Erectile dysfunction at 20? Bone maxing? And what? And what else? He got frame-maxed not a while ago, and now he's awaiting his jail term. I guess he was, suspected for something illegal thing. So I guess so he could spend his next 8 years in jail. So you know what I mean to say is, like, these were things were meant to be gatekept, right? They were not meant for the normies to use, like uh, this. Our, if I want to say it like this, is our culture is not your, uh, a trending thing. It should not be used by you as a trend creator or something. People are literally uh, crushing their bones and shit like that. What else? Raw milk eating meat? Raw meat, yeah. Oh man, this is so sad, bro. And by the way, I didn't. At the start I talked about the rising LARPing in third world countries. Like, not a while ago, like 4 days ago or 3 days ago, I saw some news that in Indonesia, Nazism is rising. Nazism. And some kid there in Indonesia larved as Brenton Tarrant. He in the gun he wrote for Agartha. Bro, that is fine. This low IQ thing, this shows that you have sub-zero IQ. You cannot understand the basic thing that what they do, that you are still not allowed in Agartha, bro. What? For Agartha? Who are you talking? Who are you fighting for? Agartha in Indonesia? What? Or Khmer Indonesia? Oh, sorry, Khmer Agartha? But you're not allowed in Agartha. If I would like to say in that way, that you're not sorry, you're not allowed in Agartha. And not even this mass shooting kind of LARPing, like other things. What? Vril, Max and this jawline and shit. They are posting sub 5 MTN, HMTN. Bro, these things are meant to be gatekept. It's a sad thing that like the things which earlier back in the day, even these kind of things were the you know uh, were the identifiers of someone being an incel, and that to the next level incel. You know what I'm saying, right? Not a normal incel, the image board level of incel, to be precise. Soy jacks got now mainstream. Church jack is so mainstream that even kids, even foids, I mean, sorry, even females are using them. Nothing ever happens, bro. Even though church jack is not just soy jack. Sorry to say, but yeah, cops and everything got um what mainstream. Yeah. So the enough talking about this, the internet culture thing, and now moving towards some history again. So I was reading this. Okay, this is the 124th edition of the Acta Asiatica journal. So basically, it's the title is East Asian Capital Cities of the 7th and 8th centuries in comparative light. So basically, what it is this shows that how the influence of China and Korea, majorly Chinese capital cities, it paved or forced other lands like the farther east Japanese lands and also the Korean lands to increase or make more and more capital cities to show their power, basically. Because the power show, when Tang Dynasty got into power, they were a threat to other cultures in the Sinosphere, namely Japan and China, because people did know that the Tang Dynasty being again, you know, rising up into, you know, power is a threat. Also, it is evident like the nomadic invasion of China also, got increased when Tang Dynasty, got succeeded by the Zhou dynasty. So Zhou dynasty, they saw invasion of nomadic tribe from Central Asia, from uh, you know some something like in the northern parts of China, and when they you know weakened further, and the Chinese stronghold got you know more and more weakened by time, many Mongoloid or Khanganate, Turkic Khanganate rulers captured China. So, not going into the fighting history of what battles happened, I'm talking about this capital cities. And the very good part of this thing is it literally, showed you shows you how culturally both the three countries are connected, and why they um, uh, how things changed over time, at least after 697 and after 704 or 702, Japan see a massive rise in capital cities, at least if you're talking about making of castles, right? So to show you something, uh, This is the transport network. If I could show you, this is the transport network in the sixth and seventh centuries, I guess. You can see here, um, the Taklamakan Basin is China, and here is, the Korean Peninsula here, in this Japan here. So major cities like Silla in Korea, and here Tang, the Tang capital, and also Tibet. And also, by the way, when the Zhou dynasty came into power, Wu Zetian, I guess I mentioned her earlier, the only empress of China, that the only female power in China that used the Chakravartin ideology to come into power, being the only secular, you know, empress of China, and which superseded the Taoist, or tackled the Taoist idea of only a male hired should be an emperor in China. So in Tibet, the one, if I want to say, um, that came as a, rose as a rival for Wu Zetian is Fushun. I guess that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry am if I am pronouncing that name wrong, but yeah, mm, yes, yeah. So Tufan or something like that. Yeah, Tufan from Tibet. Tufan. I'm sorry, I said something wrong. Sorry for, you know, pronouncing the names wrong. I will try to. Hmm. So China has a lot of nomadic regions, like a lot of pastoralist region, also agricultural regions, and also the horse hordic people too, that are from Central Asia, the Uyghurs and something like that, in further in Central Asia, right? So the Zhou dynasty from 690 to 705, Buddhism became state religion, it says, and it took over Taoism, right? So, and by the way, now the centralization of power, I mean the central power, changed from, the Tang capital, we call the Shangyan, to Loyang. It changed in the Zhou dynasty, right? And yeah, and Loyang was called Shentu by Zitian. Shentu means, if I'm not wrong, you could correct me by saying it. So Shentu means the divine realm or divine capital, I guess. Yeah, divine capital, maybe. So this is basically, you could say, an overview of what things happen. And also, by the way, I was very much astonished by the seals, or the imprinting art the Chinese and the Sinosphere adjacent people used. It was very fascinating for me. And also, I saw the rose of Buddhism in this, bro. Yeah, I know that things changed because many ideas were, taken from Silk Route, from India to Tibet, or maybe then China. Then from China, it, colloquially adopted and then changed, and then and then goes through Korea, then Japan, and that's how Buddhism rose in the Sinosphere eastwards, right? So yeah, and the if I would want to say the most important mission that shaped Japan the way it is now, at least in terms of architecture, or you could say, you know, joining Japan, or strengthening of Japan, it was the mission of 702. which was sent by the Zhou dynasty that carried messengers from Japan to see how the Chinese capital cities were made, how the Chinese palaces were made, and to make them in their homeland in Japan, back there. So yeah, it was a very major thing. So if I want to quote from this uh, thing, the diplomatic agreement between Wushu and Japan, the acknowledgement of the change that I talked about it earlier, that how the name of Japan from Wa to Nihon, like, was approved by the Zhou dynasty. I mean, as an agreement, because they were the major power, right? The Chinese. Acknowledgement of the change in Japan's name from Wakoku to Nihon Koku. I guess Koku is a Chinese way of saying land or something. Okay. Establishment of diplomatic relations between the Zhou and Japan, and recognition of Emperor Monmu. And by the way, Emperor Monmu started, some castle building in Nara, I guess, or something like that. I would, clarify in a bit. But yeah, Emperor Monmu as King of Japan. Bestowal of the rank of Supplementary Chief Minister of the Court of Imperial Entertainments, which, which, uh, on Awata no Mahito, the chief ambassador, right? Repatriation of Japanese prisoners of war captured at the Battle of Pyeong in Korea, I guess. It's, you know, Pyeong in 663, the Battle of Pyeong. Pyeong, something like that. So, repatriation of Japanese POWs exchanged, basically, yeah, and issuance of letters of state with the format of qi shi, exchange between states of equal standing. Basically, China was recognizing Japan as an equal power. So the Chinese gave the you know the the respect the Japanese wanted, basically. At least from this agreement. That is why I'm saying that the 702 agreement has a very, very major impact on Japanese rose. I mean, how the land of Japan rose in power, at least in the Sinosphere. Permission for permission for Avata no Mahito and others to attend state rites, such as those performed on the southern outskirts of the capital. It's still debated, by the way, this thing happened or not. Like, people speculate that they got into mutual agreement to, you know, streamline this clause, or this point, I guess. And hosting of an invitation banquet by the Zhou dynasty in the Linte Hall of the Taming Palace. So you see how Zhou dynasty is giving space to the Japanese, at least, you know, being treating them as of the same caliber. Gifts of many important items from the time of Wu Zetian reign, uh, brocade depicting four horsemen hunting lions, embroidered depiction of Sakyamuni, Buddha, preaching, and books such as Wangpo Shi, and the agreement of regular sending of tribute by Japan. So these were in the concise points what happened. So basically, if I want to want to sum total what happened in this 702 agreement, was the sum total of this treatment accorded to a single mission was not matched by any other Japanese. As I said earlier, like, this was the biggest one, if I want to say, in giving Japanese the cultural label as the world knows now, or at least facilitating them in this, right? So there have been already many studies about the influence that knowledge gained by the Seven Earth mission had on state formation. That so basically this, that how state formation of the land of Japan as we know was kick-started, or at least the 702 mission was the cornerstone of it. Right. Yeah. So the Haijokyo or Fujiwara Kyo is all these, castles or capital cities were made during this time, and especially the Haijokyo was, uh, kickstarted, or you could say started, by the visit to Chang'an in China, but in this Japanese mission of 702, right? And to quote directly, that the Haijokyo uh, castle was directly mapped to the Chang'an architectural designing, the Chang'an Palace architectural design, right? And yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, this was the thing. And what else? Yeah, of course, Buddhism. Mm, hmm, hmm, hmm. And something that I want to, talk about is the legal code system that the Chinese follows. If I'm right, it's called the Liu Ling system. And this was also popularized in Japan when these kind of missions happen between Japan and China, right? So the Liu Ling system was further, you could say, locally or colloquially adopted in Japan as the Ritsuryo, or how it is pronounced, I guess. Ritsuryo, Ritsuryo, something like that system, which basically means legal codes, how the Japanese society should work, at least at that time, right? And by the way, the Ritsuryo is one of the oldest systems of Japan, which changed if according to time, but it's still in practice. Yeah, right. Yeah, and mm, the one thing which I want to again quote is the impact on the impact of the Confucianist ideas on Japan and also Korea, to be precise here. Like Japan, Korea, they saw a mix of Buddhist, Taoist, and also Confucius idea over their societies and how they work till now, right? Yes, sir. So that is also a thing. Let me see. What was it? Hmm. And to, not get targeted by East Asians in this channel, I would be directly reading from this this here. This is, Transactions of the International Conference of Eastern Studies. Is the 2022 edition, right? And it's the Institute of Eastern Culture, the Toho Gakkai. So it's Japanese, so nobody will be pissed off, right? So it is said, to quote, this Confucianization in early modern Japan and the family. It is said that in early modern Japan, as typified by Onna Daigaku, and if I'm not wrong, Onna means women in Japanese, and Daigaku means higher learning or great learning. So basically, this means that the great learning for women, right? Women were required to show obedience to their parents-in-law and faithfulness to their husband, and norms were taught according to which the place for men was outside the home and the place for women was inside the home, with men representing yang Confucius ideas, and women representing yin. So the yin yang um, equilibrium, to be precise here, and being considered foolish, all of which had become socially accepted ideas. It has also been said that these norms derived from Neo Confucianism and were due to the influence from China and Korea. Because we're talking about the Japanese, how were they impacted by the Confucianist ideas, right? Yeah. So these norms cannot be said to have been, no, this is a conference, so of course they are quoting some earlier papers, like, so to, it says that here that these norms cannot said to have been based on Neo-Confucianism, and moreover, when Confucian thinking was adopted in Japan, it was reinterpreted so as to conform to Japanese society and was presented within a Japanese framework. That's what I implied earlier. Like colloquially adapting of some information, whether it's a legal code, whether it's religion, whether it's how you speak, how you wear your clothes, or anything. You know why we have this term semantic similarities? I love this word, bro, because the semantic similarities show you how one idea changed its forms, according to geographical distances. Oh, I guess I'm taking so much time here, but still, okay. Uh, yeah. So it says here that the Japanese framework, what the author here meant by the Japanese framework, is the idea of duties, right? In a society organized by social status on the basis of family occupation or duties, the male head of the household was deemed to be responsible for roles that interfaced with society, whereas the women at home were considered to have the shared duties of weaving, sewing, and spinning. This thinking was clarified in the Yamaga Gurui and summarized in an easily understandable form by Kaibara Eikiken. Right. So, yeah, it needs to be borne in mind that this way of thinking was not devised by Confucian scholars. Point to be, you know, give, you should give this point a thought. And now, uh, but was a norm produced by the heads of household through links between their own everyday lives and society. Adaptation of ideas. It is to be surmised that it was for this reason that the writings of Kaibara Eikiken won many readers and were widely accepted. Why? Because Kaibara adopted the Confucian ideas into the Japanese framework, basically fitted it. That is why it was accepted more widely than the original Confucian ideas. That's how Buddhism changed as it goes from India, Tibet, China, Japan, Korea, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, not stretching it more, I have many things to share with you because it was quite interesting seeing these things because you could, easily understand that why we we see societies as they are now in the sinosphere and the related cultures because Confucian ideas have impact over Vietnam too, if I'm not wrong, right? uh, hmm. So basically household became the family. You could say the household became the basis of state rule, if I would like to say here. Like the household became the basis of state rule through the family registration law, which still is in practice, by the way. Still in practice. Yeah. So that was it. I guess enough for this video. If you want to, you know, um, want something from me, like other interesting things like these, comment, yeah, so that I would get a pretty good idea that you all even like this shit, or am I just talking to myself? I mean, yeah, yeah. So please comment if you're, liking this shit, or you have an interest in, some uh, good history conversations like this. And I have very good things in this, by the way. This is a metropolis, uh, the medieval metropolis in East Asia, basically plans, the city plans. How was the Liu Yang in the how was Liu Yang in the before Christian era, right? Before Christ era. How was it? Restored plan. Yeah, because if I'm not wrong, the Xia and the Shang were the oldest one in China. The Xia dynasty being uh, starting from 2070 BC to, I guess, 1600, and the Shang from 1600 to 1046, and after 1046 BCE, it uh, changed to the dynastic Zhou rulers. Right. So this was pre-Zhou era. It's quite interesting. These things, quite interesting. The way how the way capitals were formed after the early uh, multi-state system, how it collapsed, right? And the way capitals paved the new way to create capitals in ancient in the coming China after the ancient system collapsed, or you could say changed, because the Chinese saw a major change in their architecture, which is more commonly known as Hanjin transition. Yes, because if I'm not wrong, the Jianye capital is the, you could say, um, the last capital which showed the multi-palace system that the ancient Chinese, the Xiang and the Shang, used. The last remnant, not, you could say, the last example of that kind of architecture, which changed by the coming Wei uh, palaces that come after the Wei kingdom after 220 AD established, I guess, around the Yellow River. So there was always been a historic difference in China, between societies near Yellow River, societies near Yangtze River. There's always a difference, right? So, without wasting much of your time, see you again in another way.